Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be running you through a tips video, but this is not just any old tips. We've all heard those tips like intentional camera movement, using shallow depth of field, things like that. But to be honest with you, we've kind of heard all of those things before, and I'm hoping that this video is going to be one that's way more useful than that. So I've been working in nature for about 15 years. I go hiking in the countryside. I've been doing photography for 7 years. So hopefully I can speak from experience, and hopefully you find these tips really useful for kind of just working out how best to shoot autumn. This is a fantastic time of year. I find it super inspiring, and I just want to help you guys get out there and shoot a little bit more and kind of get a little bit more of an understanding for the types of things that you're going to be shooting at this time of year. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so tip number one is a very simple one, but basically you've just got to look where you're going. Look what's under your feet. You might actually be stepping on something that's really cool and important, and something that you might want to photograph. So obviously if you are straying off the main paths and going down little side shoots in the woodland and everything like that, then chances are there might be something really interesting under your foot. It could be some cool fungi, it could be some, nice mossy logs or something like that. But basically at this time of year, the woodland floor comes alive, and especially those fungi, I find absolutely incredible to shoot. If you haven't watched my last video where I run you through my technique of shooting fungi, you can find it up here actually. But yeah, basically understand the fungi that are in the woodlands that you're shooting as well. So for example, I live in the Chiltern Hills, and the primary sort of tree that we've got is beech. So Fagus sylvatica, a European beech. Essentially, there are a particular type of fungi that live on each tree. So essentially, I know the types of fungi that are going to be usually found in beech woodlands, and those are the types of things that I'm looking for. But obviously, wherever you are in the world, the types of woodland that you're shooting in might be different, and the types of fungi might be different as well. So that's my first tip. Just watch your step. You might be stepping on something that is worth photographing, and something that might be potentially quite fragile as well. Tip number two is that rain can actually be your friend at this time of year. So obviously we don't like the rain in general. Humans, we're not waterproof. We can get a cold if we go out in the rain too much. But obviously if you go out and you're nice and wrapped up and you've got your waterproofs on and everything, rain can actually transform your images at this time of year. So when it rains actually in a woodland and you've got these beautiful autumn colors, when everything's wet, the saturation just shows up a little bit more, and everything just looks that bit more vibrant. The other thing is you can get fantastic kind of weather patterns coming through and bathing your scene in light. If the rain is sort of moving through, you might get sort of water droplets that are forming a really beautiful light. And even if you get to a viewpoint as well and you're looking out over a stunning autumnal scene, the rain can actually be really helpful. That storm light I always find absolutely fantastic. If you've got the land bathed in that gorgeous autumn storm light, and then the sky is really nice and dark, that is just a beautiful scene, and something that you can't really go wrong with shooting. Tip number three for you is just know your trees. So wherever you live in the world, you're going to have the trees around you that you're used to seeing. And it's best at this time of year if you can know when those autumn colours are going to happen. So, for example, like I say, I live in the Chiltern Hills in Buckinghamshire in Britain, and I know that the trees around me, they change quite rapidly at this time of year, and I have to be ready. I usually have location scouted throughout the year, and I know the types of trees and the places that I'm going to go at this time of year in autumn. So the first trees that I'm going to notice around me that are going to start to turn are trees like birch, aspen and mountain ash. Those are usually the ones that are probably around late September, early October. They'll all be changing, and honestly, if it's a really windy day, within a few days those leaves could all be gone. Then as autumn progresses, you're going to get trees like the maples, like Norway maples, sycamores, field maples. They'll start to turn, and then you get like the American oaks, red oaks, scarlet oaks and cherries. They will all be turning. Usually where I live in the south of the UK, from sort of mid-October towards the end of October, but by November they probably will all be gone. Then you're going to have certain trees that do hang on for a little bit longer. Beech trees, they'll be still on the turn at the end of October, beginning of November, and then As you progress through November, you're going to get the oaks that are still hanging on, and larch as well, which can turn a fantastic colour at this time of year. And even in December, I've got some fantastic images of oaks and larches still hanging on to those autumn colours. So yeah, it's just best if you can kind of know the trees around you and know when they're going to turn, and then you can kind of have those places that you can ideally get to it within the next few days when you see them start to turn. So tip number 4 is that the days are just going to get shorter and shorter as time goes on. The clocks have just turned here in Britain as I'm recording this, and it does feel a little bit depressing to begin with, but if you have the time to get out there and shoot, you know, you can be up for sunrise and shooting at about 6 a.m, kind of do your thing for the day, maybe do a bit of location scouting or do a hike, and then sunsets at like 5 o'clock. So the days are so much shorter, you can cram in quite a lot of photography, and you don't have to kind of get up mega early, you don't have to stay out really late until the sun sets, and it's just a more pleasurable experience. You know, it's not really late hours that you're doing. And my last tip number 5, is a nice easy one for you all, is that pretty much anything can be a foreground at this time of year. So in the winter, I find it really tricky using a wide angle lens in a woodland setting. I find the woodland to just be way too distracting. You know, things like little sticks and twigs and stuff, they just don't look that pleasing to the eye. So I find it really tricky using a wide angle lens in the winter. But at this time of year, it's kind of your last chance to use your wide angle lens, I feel like. And pretty much anything can be your foreground. So, you know, a leaf covered floor, absolutely amazing. You know, go for it. That's a perfect foreground right there. It's so simple, but the woodland floor just comes alive. It's so colorful, and you really got to make the most of it at this time of year. Even like a moss covered log, after some rain, you know, the saturation is really boosted and you get your polarizer on, you know, that's going to look absolutely fantastic at this time of year. But like I said, when it gets to winter and the leaves have all gone, even the ones on the floor, they start to lose their color, and it's all just kind of a brown drab mess. I can't use a wide angle lens. So yeah, this time of year, I always feel like it's my last chance to use my wide angle lens, because for the next few months, I'm not going to be able to use it. So those are my 5 tips, nice and quick. Hopefully you found something really useful in there. I feel like those kind of tips are so helpful at this time of year when you're walking around a woodland. You know, you really got to know the trees around you. You've got to look underfoot because you might be disturbing something, and this time of year is when those fungi are going to be really visible and nice to photograph. So hopefully you found something really useful there. I'm Josh, by the way. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, like the video if you enjoyed it, and hit the bell if you want to stay up to date on everything that's happening with the channel. Thank you guys, bye.